Today we're going to discuss how to make inferences about text and use textual evidence to support understanding. Today's objective, we will discuss inferencing about the text and use textual evidence to support understanding. How do you make an inference? First, you have to take what you see, which is textual evidence, plus what you already know, prior knowledge. Your inference is your conclusion or your prediction. How do you make an inference? Tell what you see, which is textual evidence. Add it to what you already know, your prior knowledge. Make an inference which includes draw a conclusion, generalization, which is also to make a prediction. How is this romance going? What inference can you make while looking at the heart? What I see. The heart is broken into two pieces. What I already know. The heart was together. So what do I infer? I infer that the people who were in a relationship are no longer together. What I see plus what I already know equals inference. What I see, an x-ray of a foot and a high heel shoe. What I already know, this x-ray shows a foot in an uncomfortable position. What I infer, the foot position does not look comfortable. A magnificent mistake. Here's an example of an inference. On August 11, 1628, a magnificent mistake lay at the bottom of a Stockholm harbor. One day earlier, the Vasa, laden with ornately painted sculptures and powerful guns, set sail towards the east. On the shore, citizens of Stockholm eagerly awaited the launch of its main voyage. The Vasa was built by order of the King of Sweden, Gustavus Adolphus. His country was at war with Poland, and he needed a powerful navy. He wanted to build a fleet of large ships. The Vasa would be the largest and greatest of all. The king's plan spared no expense to equip the Vasa with weapons to scare his enemies and gain the respect of his allies. As was the custom, his warship would be decorated with numerous massive sculptures and heavy cannons. This raised concern among the workmen at the shipyard because the king ordered the measurements for the ship to be very long and very tall. His plan would result in a deck that would be too narrow to support the weight of the decorations. The tall mast of the ship would make the ship too heavy and unbalanced. It could possibly topple over, but no one ever raised these concerns with the king. It was obvious that King Adolphus was not a talented ship designer. During the next 3 years, more than 1,000 oak trees were used to construct the mighty ship. At first, the king visited the shipyards to check the ship's progress. After that, his authorities were charged with overseeing the success of the project, and the king never returned. When the ship was finished, the usual test was done to be sure that it was stable. 30 men ran from one side of the ship to the other in order to test the boat's balance. For the Vasa, the test had to be stopped after only the third run because it came dangerously close to turning over. In spite of the test results, the king's authorities stood by the king's plan and stubbornly pronounced the ship seaward. On a fateful day, the Vasa left the dock To the sound of the cheering crowd, the ship set sail and fired their farewell salute. Then it headed out towards the Baltic Sea. A sudden squall soon caused the ship to tilt dangerously to one side. Then a second gust of wind caused the boat to lean farther. The open gun ports sank below the water level, and water poured through them into the ship. The Vasa sank after a 20-minute voyage. It had traveled less than a mile. 30 people lost their lives, and the captain who survived the disaster was immediately put in prison. After this disaster, an investigation was launched. The captain was ultimately freed, and no one was ever held responsible for the tragedy. In the years that followed, many unsuccessful attempts were made to raise the Vasa from the bottom of the harbor. The ship was forgotten until the 1950s. At that time, Andres Franzen began searching for the wreck. He had been successful in locating other boats that had been lost at sea. In August 1956, Franzen found the Vasa. After 328 years below water, the Vasa's recovery process was about to begin. The first step was to retrieve the loose objects from the outside of the ship. Thousands of artifacts, such as clothing, weapons, cannons, tools, and coins were uncovered. In 1961, the ship was raised to the surface. It was finally towed to its new home, the Vasa Museum, which was still under construction. Throughout the years, the restoration of the Vasa continued. In 1990, the museum was opened to the public. The ship that gained fame with a doomed first voyage had become one of Sweden's top tourist attractions. Your question is, which statement from the passage supports the inference that the king of Sweden did not want to take the blame for the sinking of the Vasa? F. The king's plan spared no expense to equip the Vasa with weapons to scare his enemies and to gain the respect of the Allies. G. The test had to be stopped after only the third run. H. 30 people lost their lives, and the captain who survived the disaster was immediately put in prison. J. The ship was forgotten until the 1950s. The correct answer is H. 30 people lost their lives, and the captain who survived the disaster was immediately put in prison. Thank you.